were you able to manage your full-time job and your side business?
So it was really very stressful. I was almost not having a life. It was always in my mind that I was going to run my own business. I just wasn't sure what it was. Nigerians will always align with a Nigerian product that is okay.
What are the challenges you face in this business?
Being able to collect our monies back from the outlets after they sell was a big issue.
During this pandemic, it actually helped you to
reflect
and then plan your next move.
No, we don't deceive people. There's nothing that you are going to take that will make you lose weight overnight. You can only lose weight sustainable through healthy means. I have no regrets having worked this long because the key things that I've done that have moved the dial are the relationships that I made while working. Entrepreneurship or business is a game of numbers.
Right.
If you cannot scale, you would continue to struggle.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Be Inspired with Milebute. Entrepreneurs are problem solvers, whether it's on the side or full-time. A business starts when entrepreneurs recognize that a problem needs a solution, and they are confident enough that their value proposition is going to solve this problem. Soon after taking the entrepreneurial plunge, what was once a challenge becomes the norm. What does it take to turn your side business to full-time? Which brings us to my guest who worked as head of corporate communication at Stanbic IBTC and public relations manager at Samsung West Africa. What's so inspiring about Usman's entrepreneurial path is the fact that it successfully transitioned from his full-time job to a side business called Friska Herbal Tea, which has grown steadily in the past 6 years. He has been able to establish the brand from farm to retailing in 700 outlets across Nigeria. Welcome, Mr. Usman. So let's get the conversation started. I understand that your career involved around corporate communication and all that. Can you please explain your time in the corporate environment before we now move to your own side business as a full-time?
My last role before stepping fully into my side business was head of corporate communication for Stanbic IBTC. And my career in the past 15 years or thereabout has been within the corporate communication sector. But I'm actually a biochemistry major.
Right.
I graduated from biochemistry from the university. And you know how Nigeria is. I mean, you might study something and then it's the available jobs out there that you take. But my first job was volunteering for an NGO, and then the next one, the first paid job, was working with Financial Standard newspapers as their online editor, and then and the website manager. And then I moved on to proper corporate Nigeria with BGL. BGL was one of the leading investment banks then. So I went in there as a corporate communication officer, and I spent 3 years. And in that 3 years, I had to do everything involved in corporate communication. So I circled around and I really got my hands dirty, sleeves up and got my hands dirty and all. After BGL, I moved on to Concept Group. It was a smaller organization, but I moved on there to head the brands and communication department. It was my first opportunity to lead a team. And it was an interesting one. But from Concept Group, I went on to Samsung West Africa. I was public relations manager for the West African business. And that actually opened me up to international best practices, how international organizations work. And it was a fantastic experience because it gave me a lot of exposure and all. From Samsung, I moved on to Stanbic IBTC. I actually joined Stanbic IBTC as corporate communications manager.
You do more of corporate communication, branding and all that.
Yes.
So I can see that you really enjoy what you do. So how did this new side business come to play? Because now you're now a farmer. How did they, I can't even, I was just, what is the motivation? Is it a passion or another thing? Could you please share that with me?
My second year at university, I had an encounter with Fela Durotoye and Larry Kupoli. They came to our school and they came to speak to us. Then from that encounter, I'd always had this entrepreneurial spirit at heart. It was always in my mind that I was going to run my own business. I just wasn't sure what it was. I mean, so fast track, a few years later, I'm in corporate Nigeria and all. And I still had that spirit even while I was working. While I was working at Concept Group, I think the only organization I worked in that I didn't have a side hustle was BGL, because I was very junior and the workload was quite low. When I was in Concept Group, I had a side business. I used to bring in Android tablets from China or from Alibaba, and I gave it my own brand name.
So you are meaning that you are an entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur at heart.
So as at what point do you now say that, okay, this is the business I want to get into?
I got into agriculture while I was in Samsung. One of my colleagues was doing it and he was doing it very well. And I asked him and he said, farming is the next big thing. And way back then, agriculture was the cool thing. It was cool to have a farm. So I just spoke to my dad that how could I get land in the village? And he was very excited. Even before I started thinking about it, my dad had done all the running around and I got land. And then I started thinking of what to grow. I actually didn't really know what I was doing back then. But the luck that I had then was that my project in university was on moringa and fasting sugar of lab rats. Wow. So that was my project topic. So when it was time to plant, I got a consultant online and he advised me to do moringa. Moringa was very popular then. So I went into moringa. The intent was to have a farm, grow and sell. But I went through a lot of challenges. It was, in fact, at a point I was depressed. I was almost suicidal because of this business, because I had the farm. It wasn't making money. I raised capital. People were chasing me for their monies. There was a time when I could not even change my DP on social media because somebody that was owing money would ask me. It was that bad. This was 2015. I was always depressed. People weren't buying. So I hadn't really applied my marketing to the business. So at some point in 2016, I started producing tea, but I was producing moringa tea and I was positioning it the wrong way. Tea for everything. One day I was just going through Linda Ikeji and I saw a product, flat tummy tea with moringa, and I saw that people were commenting on it. And then it just occurred to me, you are in marketing and comms. You need to have a unique selling proposition for people to buy into your products. Nobody wants to take moringa tea. People want to lose weight. People want to solve their blood pressure. So I rebranded the product, I repackaged it. Actually, right now, we are not really a farming business. We have pivoted from from farming to production. Now we are more of a retail business. So the bulk of my effort now is not on the farm because the farm is typically on auto run and the manufacturing part is typically on auto run. But the bulk of my effort is on conquering Nigeria, conquering Africa, entering into all the pharmacies in Nigeria. So it's more of a retail business now than agri.
So that will take me to the next question. Yeah. We're going to take a short break and then we'll be right back. Welcome back on Inspire with Melabate.
Thank you.
How were you able to manage your full-time job and your side business at the time? Because I know that you just resigned from your job about 2 weeks ago, and that your side business is like 6 years now. So when you were on your full-time job, how were you able to manage the two?
Well, so I would say that I've been fortunate. So at the time that it was just the farm is in Edo State. I'm working in Lagos State, and I would say it here right now that agriculture is not, when you are doing it large scale, it's not something that you want to do by proxy. It's 90% of the time, it's usually ends in tears, but I was quite lucky because moringa is not something that people can eat. It's not like corn or rice, so people can't take it and go and sell. It's like a specialized crop. So I didn't suffer from pilfering. The people in my local community didn't really know what it was for. So I didn't have problem with theft and all. So the farm is actually on auto run now. And because we do organic, I don't need to do much to maintain it. But in terms of production, I've been fortunate to. My wife runs the production, and she's a process driven person. In fact, for me, I think that's where she comes alive. So she manages the production. At some point, we're producing manually. Then we got a machine and we automated, and I don't have to bother myself with production, but I handle packaging, branding, marketing, distribution, sales and distribution, and all. So
while you were on your full-time job?
While I was on my full-time job, at some point, the only marketing we were doing was on social media. So I hired a social media manager that was helping me run the business on social media and sell. But when we wanted to scale, I wasn't selling in pharmacies and all, but eventually we got NAFDAC, and I started thinking of, let me even go into retail outlets. So one day I just walked into one of the retail chains. I have to buy drugs, and after buying drugs, I just asked the pharmacist there, what would it take for me to get a product on your shelf? And they said, just take it to the procurement. And I took it there. They asked if I was registered, if I had NAFDAC. I said yes. And then they asked me to bring the sample I brought. This was in VI. The pharmacy was very close to my office. So I went back to my car, took samples, took it back to them. They saw the packaging and they asked, is this produced in Nigeria? Are you sure you are? I said, yes. I'm the one that I produce it and all that. So they said, okay, they'll get back to me. Before I got back to my office, they had called and asked me if I could supply products worth 800,000 naira. Of course, I had that, and quickly the next day, I put the products in my boots, took it to them. They stocked their pharmacy with the product. 2 weeks later, they called me to come and pick up a check of 300,000 naira.
Wow.
So that was when I just realized that, this thing I've been joking. So I started thinking of how I'll get into retail outlets. I tried to work with some partners. I tried to work with a company that was into sale of herbal products that had a sales team. We had an agreement and all, but they didn't just answer me. And then I got a couple of people that were regional sales people to try to help me. I even had to pay a token fee, and 3 months, nothing happened. At that point, I just knew that, I need to build this was in 2019. This was last year. Last year. So I called up a friend that had done regional sales for one of the big multinationals, and we started to build a sales team while I was still working.
So meaning that you use your network.
Yes, my network.
Current skill you
had my network, and I knew what I wanted. I knew that I wanted to be everywhere. I had gotten a lot of feedback from people that they've taken the blood pressure tea, they are okay. So I knew that my product was a solution for people.
So thank you so much for that. So, a lot of people, they're on their full-time job, they also have their side business. Sometimes their side business is growing, and the full-time job, they're not doing badly. And I'm sure that you're not doing badly being the head of corporate communication. So when you were trying to navigate to your full-time job, is there any push that was pushing you back that, why can't you stay back?
So the moment we got into 300 pharmacies and then the sales team increased, it became more difficult to manage. I had to start having sales calls every evening from 8. So it was really very stressful. I was almost not having a life. The good thing I would say, and this is funny, that happened was the lockdown. So we're working from home, and it helped me to, grow the sales team because I was working from home. I wasn't commuting. And then it helped me to apply the knowledge that I had learned in corporate Nigeria in terms of creating sales processes, onboarding processes. So all the processes, I was able to sit down during the lockdown. I was able to sit down. It gave me time to breathe and think. And I was able to put structure in the business, got HR, got an accounting firm, got a lawyer, a law firm to work. So put the structure, because again, and I always say this to people, when you work in an organization, even if you don't like the job, the best thing you can do for yourself is to learn how the business works. Some people work and they just focus on their role, and they don't know how the golden thread that connects the whole business. That's the best thing, because your salary is going to end, the job is going to go. The only thing that you can take is the knowledge and the relationships that you've built from your corporate job.
Absolutely.
So in every organization that I'd worked, I was always intrigued by how everything was connected. So the sales structure, retail structure, I learned from Samsung. The processes and putting up in processes and controls, I learned from Stanbic. So everything really, it's from the experience. And then packaging and branding, of course, I've been in that field, and positioning, I've been in that field for a very long time. So at the time, while we were, growing this outlet, we eventually formulated a new product that is more fast moving. And during the lockdown, we prepared samples, people tested, and we went to NAFDAC. So in my mind was, once I get the NAFDAC number for that product, and we had given myself timelines that if we hit 1,000 outlets and I'm able to export to, before the lockdown, we had Namibia, export LPOs from Namibia to supply 57 outlets, and we were chasing Amazon. So I'd given myself some timelines that if I hit this and hit this and hit this, I would move. But as we grew to 400 outlets, it was becoming more and more difficult. And then there was a new product that was being produced and all. So I think what happened was, on my 40th birthday, it was during the lockdown. After the celebration on Zoom, I went on leave. I took my leave, and during the leave period, 10 days, I just started to reflect. And I kept reflecting, how am I going to continue managing it? At that time, it was a huge strain on my business. I knew that my boss was just being patient with me. The good thing about Stanbic IBTC is that you are allowed to have other business interests that you declare. So I had always declared, and I never really hid my business from people. I sell my tea. In fact, my colleagues in Stanbic were my best customers, so everybody knew me with that. So after the leave period, so I resumed and dialed in for the daily call, and everybody they were giving their reports and everything. I just said, something just said, you are 40. Is this what you want to be doing with the rest of your life? I said, no. So I just jokingly sent a message to one of my close colleagues there to say, I said, I'm just jokingly, I beg you, get one so and so million where they use, make you borrow me, make I run my stuff. So she now replied, yes, I get, but you go wait now for future. So we just laughed. It was a joke. But immediately after that, the response, and we laughed and everything, because I was always putting my updates. When we hit this number of outlets, I celebrate it. And before then, we had signed up a brand ambassador, former Mark Demont, and we did a press release. It was, people had seen that there's a seriousness. And then people were going to outlets, they were seeing it, were calling me. Actually, people had been calling that, when are you taking this to the next level? You are here, and all that. So I just spoke to, and I'd been praying that, look, God, I need a sign and all. So the first person I spoke to, that, look, I think I want to do this thing full time. And the person said, hey, this is what I've been waiting for. So what are the funding needs? So I was actually even able to raise a bit of capital without even putting down a pitch deck. So people that had seen the traction over 6 years were just willing to support. So I tell myself that you prayed for something and you made a move in a period where people that is prone to a recession and people are responding. What other sign are you looking for, really? Is God going to come down as a human being and give you money? So immediately that happened, and I started seeing the responses. I said, no, I'm going to do this full time. And I was able to.
Meaning that during this pandemic, it actually helped you to reflect,
yes,
and they planned your next move. Oh, that's so
I think that the pandemic period actually helped a lot of people, because think about it, in Lagos, you wake up very early, you're in traffic and all, you hardly have time to think.
Give everybody that time to reset, to reflect, and then see what the next step would be. Interesting. So what are the challenges you face in this business? I'm sure you face quite a number of challenges. So what is the one that you're like, do I really want to go into this business? Can I just stop?
So I would not say, can I just stop? I've been there when it was really bad and I didn't stop. So I don't really think about stopping now. But if you talk about challenges, so we operate a sales on return model, meaning that we stock outlets and then they sell and pay us. So my greatest challenge is cash to credit ratios. So cash to credit ratio is that you sell this number, you give out this amount in credit this month, and this is the cash you return. For a good business within this line, you should have a cash to credit ratio of about 75 to 80%. It's very difficult. It's almost impossible. So being able to collect our monies back from the pharmacies after not just pharmacies, the outlets after they sell was a big issue. And then I had challenges with some big distributors, probably because the brand is still relatively unknown. So we'll have an agreement to say, okay, I will supply you this amount, you pay me this amount, and then you sell off. And then because the brand is not really known, they will take the products, they will not give me monies. We'll drag for a very long time. Eventually, there was one that...
So how were you able to skate through all that?
Well, I just knew that, there was no going back. So for us now, what we've done is, with my team, I've said, what we do is intelligent stocking. You don't overstock an outlet. So if you stocked an outlet with 50 packs and it took them 5 months to sell, so it means that on the average, they sell 10 packs in a month. So when next you are restocking them, you give them 10 packs. And then, of course, you look at, there are 4 variants. Which of the variants sells the most? So if you're stocking them 10, you make that fastest selling variant. You give them 5 or 6 of that. And then the ones that don't sell much in there, you use the remaining should be that. So we call it intelligent stocking, so that it reduces our cash cycle and we're able to pull money. And we're trying to come up with a hybrid to say that instead of sales on return, which is when you finish selling, you return, we'll stock you, but at the end of the month, whatever you've sold, you give to us.
That's so nice. So that will take me to the next question, but before now, we're going to take a short break. Welcome back on Be Inspired with Melabute. So, Mr. Usman, I'm so impressed with the way you package this your brand. So tell me a little about the weight loss, and then how do you feel that, okay, this is supposed to be in the market?
Okay, so like I said earlier, my project topic in university was moringa on fasting sugar on lab rats. So from university, I'd done a bit of research on moringa, and the research is out there everywhere. We try to build a sustainable business, and if you look at the way we market, it's different from others. So we don't deceive people. There's nothing that you are going to take that will make you lose weight overnight. Only sustainable, healthy, you can only lose weight sustainable through healthy means.
Right.
So the way the tea works, it helps you curb your appetite, it helps you boost your metabolism, and it helps you detox. So for weight loss, we have a system, we have a instructional video that combines intermittent fasting, exercising, and the tea together to help you lose weight sustainably. Even on our website, we tell you, if you are looking for an overnight solution, we are not the ones. You can go and look for it elsewhere. But if you are looking for a sustainable, healthy way to lose weight, then you can come. We can work with you. The same thing for the other brands.
Right.
So again, and we've seen that, people always feel like if your product is Nigerian, Nigerians will not patronize you, that we don't support Nigerian products. And yes, it is true. Nigerians, to a large extent, would prefer other foreign products to Nigeria.
Way you brand your
exactly,
products.
but Nigerians will always align with a Nigerian product that is okay, which is why if you see our artists that are performing, Nigerians will go after them. If you do good work, Nigerians will be your cheerleaders. But if you do shabby stuff, Nigerians will be the ones to crucify you. That's how it works. So I think that if more people can commit to excellence, I'm not saying that our product is excellent, it's still work in progress. But if we can design products and services that are world-class, products that people would see and be proud of being Nigerians, it is Nigerians that will make you wealthy.
So before we finish this conversation, so do you feel that you should have left your full-time job prior to now? Have you ever said that, be like, oh my gosh, maybe I should have left this job. Maybe had I have left some years back, I would have been, go further. So do you ever feel such?
Well, it's less than 2 weeks. But to be honest, in these 2 weeks, a lot has happened. When I had my sent forth on the Friday, by the Tuesday, I was already traveling. I was already in Maiduguri, Abuja, Port Harcourt on the business and all. So it felt like, I've just been tied down. I would have been doing this a very long time. But then again, if I look back in retrospect, I'm able to package this business and set up the structure because of all the things that I've learned in corporate Nigeria. I cannot discount the knowledge. The truth is, somebody that has worked in a structured environment and somebody that is learning on the road, there's always a difference. I'm not saying that it's a guarantee for success or one will be better, but there's always a difference because if you've paid attention to the experience that you gathered or the organizations that you've worked for over the years, it will always be invaluable in building a business that is sustainable. So I have no regrets having worked this long because everything that has taken the business to this level, the key things that I've done that have moved the dial are lessons that I learned in corporate Nigeria and relationships that I made while working. So I don't regret. I feel like I'm blessed for having been able to work in those fantastic organizations.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So, I must say again, I love the branding.
Thank you.
It's quite amazing.
Thank you. And the products work.
Unfortunately, I'm not losing any weight right now, but the blood sugar, the wellness tea, and the anti-diabetic tea the packaging is great. If I enter a store, naturally, I want a good product. And then the packaging actually do attract me. That one is for me. I don't know about every other person, but this is amazing. So for the last one, I really want you to advise every other person that's on a full-time job and trying to move to do a side business and also turn their side business to a full-time business. Is there any word of advice that you have for them?
So I'd say that people need to understand the difference between a hobby, being self-employed, and being an entrepreneur. There are three different things. A hobby is you are doing something, you are passionate about what you do, and you don't know how to monetize it. Self-employed is, and a lot of people make that mistake, they leave paid employment and go into self-employment. You left your paid job and you say you are doing this thing that you're passionate about, but there's really no difference because all your time and your energy, you're just struggling and nothing has changed. But being an entrepreneur is being able to understand that this product is of value to people and being passionate enough to want to get that product into as many hands as possible. So the focus is not on that I am I have the best, but on how can I get my products to as many people as possible. The moment you start thinking in that direction, in fact, no investor would invest in your business if they don't see that you are talking about that growth. If you are more into just the product or service than taking it to the customer, then you're not ready to transit. So people need to start thinking in that direction, how they can take that value that they feel that they have and get it to as many people as possible to benefit. If you've not gotten to that stage and you're trying to transit, I strongly advise that you start thinking and educating yourself on how you can do that, because business is a game. Entrepreneurship or business is a game of numbers.
Right.
If you cannot scale, you would continue to struggle. And if you have to there's this saying, they say, if you're on the dance floor of your business, you cannot scale. You have to be able to step out, set up something that can run independent of you, being able to have a bird's eye view to see where there are issues so that you can fix. That's the only way you can do something that you'll be very proud of, and then you'll be happy that you actually left your paid employment.
Thank you so much. This is getting so well with me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much, our viewer. Thank you for watching. I'm sure you grab a lot from this conversation. I see you next time on Be Inspired with Mele. Bye for now.